Hello, today we're going to be talking about ChronoLibrary, which is replicable application state for the client side everywhere. Let's talk about it. So the problem, corporations often hide the true state of their applications, showing only what they want you to see. Money has fully corrupted our gathering spaces on the internet. What does this mean? That means when I go to Facebook, I see ads, I see fake information, I see effectively AI agents going in and posting whatever they want, and it's a lot harder for me to decipher exactly what I'm seeing. So there's a lack of transparency, and it harms trust and innovation. Right? I don't have control over the data that I'm seeing, and I cannot effectively say I only want to see this information from this specific user because I trust them. So, Chrono Library is it ensures us full transparency by making application state fully reproducible and easily verifiable for all users, whether they are on blockchain or traditional platforms. But how, right? Like, how do we do that? So, what is Chrono Library? It creates a consistent application state that can be reliably replayed by any client. What that means is that every individual action is stored inside of a memo. And with memos, we effectively are able to put information and application instructions inside of them. So ChronoState and ChronoSync are two parts of the library that work together to parse blockchain memos, ensuring real-time responsiveness and data consistency. And this uses a shared state to build an uncensorable application or add custom features based on community needs or support. So some components about this, like ChronoState parses the blockchain memos based on parameters like what a namespace starts with, who it's from, who it's going to, so on and so forth. While ChronoSync manages like the event storage and forwarding based on individual user needs or application specific needs. And then Chrono Constructor is like an optional library that comes with Chrono Library that helps reconstruct state from memo instructions. Um, how? So how do we do this? So every blockchain, including Atom 1 specifically, has a memo field, right? The memo field is attached to every transaction and can exist on effectively 99% of blockchains. We specify actions and functions in a very simple and digestible format. So we have like action formatting here. In the memo field, we would post something like this to the chain. So we have a namespace of to do app, we have a function called add, and we have a message that says take the garbage out. Okay, so we're adding a message to the globally shared to do application that says to take the garbage out. Once a user has posted this transaction to the chain, ChronoState can actually step in and ask some questions about the transaction before it digests it, or effectively the user or developer can look at this application and pretty much be like, is this what I want? Do I want to actually handle this message? Does this message belong to me? Do I care to decipher this any further? So transactions kind of contain filtering data for us to look through this information. So all transactions include an address of who sent it, who's receiving it, and especially with the context of the bank module in the Cosmos ecosystem, we're able to get a quantity that is sent from to, and then there's a memo that usually goes along with it as well. So we get things like who sent, who received. Does the memo start with to-do app? Does the transaction meet the required minimum quantity for application parsing? All these questions are optional, but helps us filter down the ones our application that we are building specifically cares about. So let's go into this a little bit further. Parsing the data. So once ChronoState has parsed the transaction, it sends it through a function to be further processed. What this means is that we can use something like Chrono Constructor to extract the memo content. So we have up here, extract memo content, and we have some state from ChronoState. So whenever we get an action from the blockchain, and it specifically has to do with, say, to-do app, we're looking at the memo and we're just double checking that to-do-app.add was the function that was or that's stored in the memo. And then what we can do is try and extract that information out of the function using just like a little function parameter here. And it'll basically say, hey, it's missing like the message for the to-do item to add it. And then what we can do is store that individual state. And this state can live inside of the application, or we can create a database or do whatever we want to do to store that information and not have to like parse those blocks again. And then like down here, you would do effectively the same thing, but you would do something with like hiding, right? So you want to add something to the to-do list, then you want to remove it. Like you could even make it specific where it's like, oh, you only want your address to be coming through, or you want somebody else's address to be coming through, or it needs to be sent to a specific person. All these individual things can be answered in a way that allows you to specifically gather information to build your application. Okay, utilizing the data. The storage and handling of the data is entirely up to the provider of the client. So what that means is that effectively anybody can do anything they want with this data. Like, let's say that for our to-do application, we don't want messages from a very specific address because they're spamming us and we're not interested in what they have to say. We can actually take that information and just filter it out. And we just don't even have to worry about it. So the users have full control on how they want to store their data, how they want to execute it in their application, whether or not they want to do anything with that action, which means that when application state is effectively replicable, it means that you as a provider or a client are fully in control of how to utilize it. So this means you have full transparency on how everything's being interacted with. And so you can like reconstruct it in whatever way that you want. So what does that mean for us? So as a very general purpose message, rebuild the internet. ChronoLibrary kind of gives you the tools to rebuild social interactions in new ways. Build systems for usernames, displaying avatars, personalization, and we could effectively build the next third place. Since all of our third places have been hijacked by a lot of nefarious types of people. So we can build it all right on top of Atom 1. Limitations with Atom 1 pretty much spark innovation here, and that's what ChronoLibrary was built out of. So if you want to learn more about ChronoLibrary, chronolibrary.com, and you can get started with building an application right with ChronoSync. So there's already an example application there for a simple tic-tac-toe game, which runs off of state. And I highly suggest you take a look at it if this is compelling to you in any shape or form. So yeah, thanks for checking out ChronoLibrary, and hopefully you enjoy what I've had to say here. So